From Batman to John Wick to even movies like No Hard Feelings, there are so many ways to cinematically capture action. The art of fight.
I hope that cough didn't get in there. I'm gonna try to mute.
I didn't hear it.
Okay, good. I've been kind of sick for the last few days. Real quick, let me tell you what I had. I went to the doctor after being sick for a few days, and I thought it would just go away. Had sore throat and stuff, and I was certain that I had maybe a mild form of strep. She came in there, she's like, "You don't have strep, but you do have," and then she's like, "You have an ear infection, a sinus infection, and bronchitis."
Gee, bronchitis.
I was like,
geez.
"Mother effer." It's like three things.
I just had something similar.
Excuse me. Yeah, well, she's just prescribed me like 6 different medications, including an inhaler.
Jeez,
Louise.
I know.
It's kind of concerning.
It's well, she was
How are you
like,
feeling?
"How am I
Are
feeling
we
now?"
sure it's bronchitis or is it just COVID? Like,
I mean,
3.0.
I would think that I would hope that if it were
They're just
COVID,
calling
she
it
would
like they just call it bronchitis now. Someone comes in with upper ref story, I wouldn't call it COVID anymore. I'd be like,
Yeah.
yeah, you got
No,
that
man.
new bronchitis.
ain't nobody got time for that.
Well, Jake Gyllenhaal, he backed out last minute apparently at the superhero Comic Con in San Antonio over the weekend due to COVID. Trying to surprise
Wow.
people. People are still getting it, I guess.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Okay.
It's just his way out, I feel like, to get out.
Anyway, yeah,
Absolutely.
I had a lot of illnesses, and so I'm getting better.
You don't
though.
sound ill,
I'm getting better.
especially like bronchitis. Isn't those supposed to affect the voice and the larynx?
It was I was kind of losing my voice is kind of raspy there for a little bit. Because I'm getting better.
You could put on some, I don't know, do some voices like Tom Hardy then.
Like the one he's got in the Bike Riders,
Something like that.
or the one he has in Batman.
Yeah. All right, guys.
I will say he does
He does some pretty good character
into his
voices.
roles.
Yeah. All right, sorry. Go ahead. We can start now.
Welcome to another fantastic episode of the Fantastic Mr. Podcast. I'm Zach Briggs, and I'm with Jake Kramers and Justin Strange. Say hello, guys.
Yo.
Hello.
How is it going, everyone?
Hello,
this lovely evening?
Clarice.
How's everyone doing?
You know, I'm doing pretty well considering the circumstances that I've been going through. I just told you guys that I've been kind of sick, so getting better though.
I'm doing good. I'm actually off work this week. My daughter's daycare is like out, and so I'm taking off work for a week, just hanging out with my daughter, and we're just like
It sounds like
hanging
fun.
out.
Awesome.
Yeah, we went to IHOP this morning, and we went to a
Goodness.
park a science
Hey, man.
center. It was neat.
Don't let her think that you're going to do that every day. Be like, "Hey, don't make a habit out of this. This is just for today."
Bro, we pretty much do this every day. Like on weekends, that's all we do is just go.
I think
around
if I
and do
had
stuff for her.
if I had kids, I think I'd be like, what can we do with you today?
Yeah, like our average weekends, like we usually get up, we'll go to the farmer's market, we might go get lunch or come home and eat and make lunch, and then we'll like go to a park or go swim or like go to a science museum or like it usually is whatever she wants to do, which probably isn't healthy in the long run, but like, she's
Not if
She's
you're going
like-
to science museums.
yeah, and she's like 4, so
Yeah, they know how to make things look cool, and you learn stuff at the same time.
she's actually getting really crafty and I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I want to get a camera in her hands soon. Like a little disposable camera that she can just like take pictures of things.
I think I have an old handy cam here. It takes those little tapes. No, actually, I think it's just a digital camera.
I was like, I think I got my hands on a camera for the first time around like 5 or 6, I think. And I've been doing it ever since.
We
So
used to have one of those VHS camcorders where you put a whole VHS tape in it.
that's exactly what it was.
It was pretty cool. Okay, sorry, Zach.
Classic.
Go ahead. We were talking about our day.
Adventures, everyone's getting well. Perfect.
Mhm.
So today we're going to be talking about action, how it's shot, the style, maybe analyze why you think it's shot in a certain way. I guess I'll start. I think what brought this topic to mind was when I was a kid, and I think it was 2005 when Batman Begins came out. It was the start of the Christopher Nolan trilogy. This was years after the the last live action iteration of Batman, which was more of a humorous joke. And anyway, you had a nice dark tone established. You had Bruce Wayne, a moody Bruce Wayne going to train. And the first fight scene, I believe, is when he's at that prison and he's outside and it's rainy weather. I don't know if you guys remember this, but the he gets into it with this guy that's giving him some orders, and they start getting into it, and then he starts trying to fend off like five guys. But anyways, that fight kind of stuck with me as far as the way it was shot. It was very chaotic and messy, and the way that was edited, uh, it was hard to tell what was going on like, in terms of any fluid action, in terms of movement by Bruce Wayne. And then that's kind of repeated in other scenes. I'd argue in the first appearance of Batman begins of Batman in the dock scene. I think with that the way it's shot there is it makes sense because it's a gradual reveal of Batman, this menace, this almost unheard of being that's taking down these henchmen in the docks. And I think it's appropriate in that sense to not really see full-fledged shots of Batman fighting these henchmen. We get just multiple quick collection of clips and cuts of him doing his thing. But even after that scene, like on the train scene when he's fighting Ra's al Ghul, played by Liam Neeson, it's still cut in an odd, chaotic fashion. I guess it's maybe the cinematographer that Christopher Nolan was working with, and that was his style. I don't know if that was direction provided by Christopher Nolan to go with that, or maybe was it a way to compromise maybe the lack of fluid, excellent choreography that perhaps I argue is a lot better in, for example, like the warehouse scene with Ben Affleck's Batman, where you get to see a lot more of what's going on without constant cuts and having to readjust your eyes. But what do you guys think about, at least when it comes to what you guys can remember of the Nolan trilogy style of action sequences,
Well, they're
and
pretty
specifically
realistic.
fighting?
Yeah, they're pretty realistic to me. The one that kind of comes up in my head is it's not really, I guess it's not really a fight scene, but it's the scene where he's kind of got the Joker dangling off the building and he's like punching him. Or yeah, he's like is he dropping him, bringing him up, hitting him?
Yeah,
Is that what he's doing? Yeah, and I thought that was pretty funny because not only that, but the Joker, he's crazy. And then of course there's the fight scene with Bane and Batman in The Dark Knight Rises where they're in the crowd. That was a pretty cool fight scene because it was very like there's no real music, it's just hitting. And it's like brawler style, right? Nothing fancy. And that's kind of like Batman to me, the kind of fighter Batman is kind of like a brawler, and he's kind of met his match when it comes to Bane. And I think actually Bane is probably at least that version of Bane is probably stronger, I would think, than Batman, a little more calculating, maybe not more calculating, but at least as calculating as Batman. And so I think he really had met his match in that fight. It was a really good fight. As far as the Nolan movies go, Batman Begins is my least favorite of all the Nolan movies, and I do not really remember much from that movie.
really.
Yeah, I did read,
That's my favorite of the three
and I just
because
watched him recently too. And
a good origin story. I
I
think I'm
mean,
a sucker
yeah,
for origin stories, and I like the style of Gotham City in that one. I think because mainly it's showcasing kind of the seedy parts of Gotham, whereas in the other two we're looking at the more Chicago looking
mhm.
parts of Gotham City where it's not as harsh.
I don't know. I kind of like Tim Burton Gotham, where steam is coming out of every single orifice in the street.
Yeah, but that's what I'm trying to
Well,
get
the
at with this.
Batman Begins, like if we're talking about the scene, I feel like Nolan kind of took that and like, okay, what if it was Burton's Batman, but then we made it realistic? Because like the first, even just the first movie itself felt a lot more it's probably wrong to say, but like animated, like it was a lot more stylized than the latter two movies. It felt like it was almost like an island, like it was a smaller, and then the second and the third like turned it into an actual city. But like the fight scenes, I remember were pretty good, especially in Batman Begins. I actually enjoyed it because you're getting to learn it with the character, and so like I really enjoyed the sequences of him fighting like Ra's al Ghul's like training camp, or like just
Oh,
you think
yes.
I think opening the movie even like with he's like in a prison camp somewhere. He's like fighting a bunch of dudes in the mud. Um,
Yes.
and the fighting, I don't want to say it feels more gritty because it wasn't, but
It was,
it felt a lot more creative almost than like the second and the third. Because the second definitely was more psychological. And then the third was more of a brawler situation. Whereas the first was more like ninja and kind of like athleticism and outthinking your opponent with the physicality. And I remember they had a very specific um, fighting style, like a very like a combination of fighting styles created for Christian Bale in this movie, and it was like a mix of like Krav Maga and like a couple of other close combat situations that or forms that he doesn't really go into in the later movies. I really liked the closeness of it and how like creative he had to be with the fights.
and what are your thoughts on the way the fights are, sh- the way the fights are shot? And some of them, anyways. I'm not saying all of them are rapidly pieced together, but I think perhaps you could argue it establishes the chaos
Hmm.
of a scene and a moment by the quick cuts and perhaps some aspects of shaky cam where you really can't see the fluid every punch carried out. It just I kind of like that, but it's just as a kid, I guess I just didn't understand much what was going on. Like, how did he get to the ground? It just I don't know, what do you think about the style, perhaps like what maybe they were going for when they shot it and edited certain
The,
fights?
the Batman movies to me seem to fall squarely within the stereotypical action. Whereas like let's say you've got on one hand you could say you got maybe John Wick or some of the more experimental films such as like Upgrade, things like that, where they do like these one like
Mm,
long takes, no cuts, or even scenes like Daredevil, like the hallway fight, where they've got like no take, one shot situations. And on the other side, you've got like Taken 3 with Liam Neeson, where it's like a cut like every point 4 seconds. It's ridiculous. You can't see what the heck's going on. Batman, Nolan's Batman falls like solidly. I would almost set it like uh as a barometer for the rest because it feels solidly like smack dab in the middle of like, okay, this is an action movie. We have action fights. There's some fast cuts. There's a little bit of shaky cam, but in general, you can basically see what's going on, and they like cut every so often to like sell the impact and things like that.
Totally.
How about you, Justin? What do you think about the maybe why they would go for the quick cuts and certain scenes of the
Um,
Batman movies, or just
no-
in general? Because we see, and as Jake mentioned, in like Taken, for example. I mean, that's I think also where I've noticed the chaotic cuts.
well, the movies that I think of first, and the only reason I know this because I'm gonna be honest, I've never seen them, but we were shown them in a film when I was in film school, and is like the Bourne movies because they're real like
Yes,
Yeah.
we talk about quick cuts and stuff,
there we
and
go.
it's just like
Forgot about those.
yeah, you're like even there's a scene where he's flying through the air, jumping from one like building into a
Oh
window.
yeah.
And it's like it seems like it's like 10 cuts before I'm exaggerating a little bit before he even gets to the window. And sometimes it's just like, why do
But
you need all that? I mean, I get it. It's fast, it's action, it's quick cuts and all this stuff. And then I don't know. I don't
yeah,
know. It
but then
just
he jumps off the roof through the window and it's one cut.
mhm,
And they actually threw the cameraman off the roof with him.
What?
pretty cool. Well, when they start actually fighting, it's like several cuts and like maybe 5 seconds, and I don't know, it's kind of weird. I kind of like like I was talking about the Bane and Batman fight scene, and how it's not very many cuts from what I can remember.
So I actually disagree with you
Okay.
because Bourne is whenever I think of like fight scenes when Zach brought this up as a topic, Bourne was the first subject I went to for a completely different reason, which is not for quick cuts because I actually don't think there's that many. What Bourne did, which some people appreciate and some people don't, is Bourne has the ample use of shaky cam, which depending on how you use it can either like really improve a fight scene or they can take you out of it entirely. And I'm under the opinion that for in Bourne's case, I know it's infamous. Like the amount of shaky cam in Bourne is truly obscene. But I actually like it because unlike some other movies who use shaky cam, and I'm trying to think of another good example of of movies who don't use it well. Um, but a lot of movies, when they implement shaky cam, they they use it to obscure the action. They use it in replace or in a instead of fast cuts. They're like, if we just shake the camera enough around, you can't really see who's getting hit. You can't see what's going on, and we're just selling that it's fast and it has action. Whereas in the Bourne trilogy, it is very shaky, but it does not obscure the action. It actually, in my opinion, is used to enhance it. And they kind of
Mm.
throw the camera in the middle of them. And that's why it's so shaky. And there it's also consistent with the rest of the film. So like if you've got like a movie, I think Shaken they're taking three might be a good example. If you got a movie like during the calm parts, it's very standard cuts, and then you go into a fight scene and it suddenly changes, it pulls you out. Whereas in Bourne, they keep a consistent style throughout the movie and then just intensify it when he gets into a fight. Anyway, didn't mean to don't mean to be a contrarian, but that's kind of how I feel about it.
So I don't think whatever you said.
Obscures.
Yeah, I don't think it does that. I think it enhances it, but there are a lot of cuts. Like, I mean, it's also several instances of shaky cam. But like whenever things are happening like all at once, I mean, just from him running 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. That's just him getting from the window into the house. And so like I don't think it um devalues it or anything like that. It looks cool. Don't get me wrong. But I think with some of these more quick pace action pieces like the Bourne trilogy or the Bourne Ultimatum, this is what that's from. Um, quick cuts are used, I think, to enhance the fight scenes. I mean, I don't really know the reasoning behind it. Um, because I guess because it would, I don't know, be kind of weird if it was
What do you
just
prefer?
one
I
one
guess
long cut.
as a viewer, the choppy cuts or something more
I mean, if
fluid
the
where you
cuts are
can see what's
done,
going on.
yeah, if the cuts are done right, and like you said earlier, Zach, when you were like, "How did he get on the ground?" Like if it was like that, I wouldn't like it. But like if they're done right with like even with this clip from the Bourne Ultimatum, like it looks good. I can tell
Mhm.
what's going on. Like if they're done right, totally okay with it. Because the good thing about straight cuts is you don't notice. You tend not to notice it unless you're like us, us three who notice things like that. But like the average moviegoer just watches, right? And so the cuts don't really mean anything. But I could watch a fight scene that has no cuts if it's done right. Um,
Yeah, there's also a potential you're risking, I don't know, something coming across as too choreographed if this more one
yeah.
shot wonder goes on for too long and you're starting to pick up like,
Well, I watched this real.
why is that guy not engaging the protagonist at this very moment? He's just waiting for his fellow henchman to get beat down to the ground, then he'll engage. But then again, you're getting to I guess
Nitty
nitpicky at
gritty.
that point.
Yeah.
But I liked I like the hallway fight scene from the
Daredevil.
Daredevil
That's
series from
probably
Netflix.
one of my favorite fight scenes ever
Very
in
iconic.
movies or TV. Because it's like, dude, how the hell is he doing that? Like, how is he still fighting these guys? And he fights them, I mean, for a good, I would say at least 10 minutes. I mean, I could be wrong on that. I don't really know
Like
that
a
for sure.
dozen men too, and he's again. Remember, Murdoch. He doesn't have
He's blind.
regeneration abilities. He's blind and uses his senses, so he bleeds, but he's able to take all these guys down
Yeah. Well,
with
they,
some level of struggle.
Netflix, I
He gets
think,
punched and beat up too.
yeah, and that's the good thing about it. Like, you don't, like, it's like the Batman, like with Robert Pattinson, where like he fights, but he still gets hit in the face, and he might go down for like a second and then come back up, even when he tries out his little flight suit, right? And he like launches himself off the building, and then he
Yeah,
ends
just
up like
breaks his
rolling
neck.
on the ground for a second or whatever, and then comes back up. Like I thought that was cool because it was real. Like it was his first time trying the freaking thing. There's no way he would master it in
Yeah.
that first. And then even fighting some of these guys on the street, which I thought, speaking of fight scenes, the first one we see in the Batman where he just kind of beats that guy down and then he beats the rest of the guys down. It's like one of the first ones where he kind of comes out of the shadows was really
Mhm.
cool because that was the one they showed in one of the trailers
Yep.
or a clip or something. And I was like, this is gonna be a freaking good movie. And so like I don't know, I just kind of like that. I like it when fights are a little more realistic, I guess. Whereas
They get
like
out
the
of breath. They get
yeah,
hurt.
exactly, and they get hit in the face, they might start bleeding, and it's just like even with Daredevil, he is visibly exhausted, but he continues to fight these guys that are just like coming at him, and it's crazy. And I remember thinking when I first saw that, I was like, this is crazy. Like this looks like it's one take, and it probably is one take. I mean, they're not actually fighting; he can act, right? So I don't know. That was a pretty dope scene.
And I like when movies are able to, in between all the chaos of getting punched and kicking or shooting people, they do close ups of the protagonist's face. Like you're gonna see, give a sense of what he or she's like feeling or going through.
If they do what again?
If they like show like close ups of the people, like to show what the condition is,
Hmm.
Like the
like
emotion.
yeah,
Yeah, that's what close-ups are for.
but yeah, I
Sorry.
knew that. Anyways, I guess are there any obscure movies you
Yeah,
guys like to talk
actually,
about when it comes to action sequences?
I just started one. It's a movie called Hardcore Henry, which is a first-person film.
Ooh,
Movies in the entire movie's in first person,
I think
that
we've
would
and
be
talked
it's
fun.
about this.
it's got some great. I used it for one of my for my I showed it when I was teaching high school, and it's like a rated R movie. But it's got some of the best action fight scenes. I mean, there's like stabbing and shooting going on too. But it's like the whole movie is just like watching. I don't know if you guys ever played Mirror's Edge. It's a first person game where you're basically doing parkour throughout the city. So it's like that along with fighting and, stabbing and shooting and stuff. And it's all in first person. The story's okay. I don't really remember the story that much, honestly, but the action itself,
Listen,
like,
let's be honest. The story was a vehicle for the action. The story was
yeah,
irrelevant.
yeah, they're like, we got to have a story. All right, well, let's just do this real simple one because the whole gimmick is this first person view. And it was really cool. Now it is really shaky, so it's possible you could get a little motion sickness from it. So that's the only downfall of that when you do a movie like that, is the possible ramifications of people who get motion sickness if they watch something like that. But the whole movie was like that, and there's really real cool action sequences from this movie. Very gimmicky, right? But pretty
Was
pretty
it brutal
sweet.
though?
Yeah,
Brutal and realistic feeling?
brutal for
No,
sure.
not realistic.
Yeah, I would say
Completely over the
brutal.
top.
I would say brutal for sure. Probably not so much realism involved.
Completely over the top.
It's more like if you just want to watch something that's just kind of cool. Like even with John Wick, like John Wick's fighting is it's a little more realistic than Hardcore Henry, but some of it is kind of over the top where he's like swinging outside of his car and shooting people and all this stuff. Like nobody can do that except for John Wick. So I think it's a little more it's like taking the over the topness and trying to make it as realistic as possible. with John Wick, whereas Hardcore Henry is like,
They,
nah, we're not going to do
yeah.
that. We're gonna make it look cool like a video game. It's
It
basically the
is
idea.
exactly. When I was watching it, I was like, this looks or this feels like I'm watching like a Let's Play video game
Exactly.
of just some insane like cyberpunk action 27/7 movie.
Yeah.
Because like the guys, I think the guy like he has like he gets like robot
hmm
parts and like people are
Yeah.
switching bodies and like it's crazy.
Yeah. It's a very strange movie, but it's a cool movie. Don't get me wrong. It's very cool. And I'd probably watch it again. Heck, I saw it in theaters. Me and my buddy did, and I was like, that was really cool. But yeah, it's very gimmicky, very over the top type stuff. But that doesn't mean it's not cool. It's like Fast and Furious is over the top, and it's got 10 or 11 movies, 10 movies, I think. Like they're
I've
lifting
never seen
cars
one.
with helicopter. Well, I've seen
Going to space.
yeah, I've seen one. I've seen Tokyo Drift, and those were kind of a little more grounded ones. And then once they get to Hobbs and Shaw, which is the only other Fast and Furious type movie I saw, because Hobbs and Shaw are characters in the movies, and I saw Hobbs and Shaw, and they're like picking things up with cars up with helicopters and connecting giant vehicles together. I'm just like, this is crazy. There's no way in real life that anybody would ever do this, like at all. But you digress and you watch these movies because they're fun.
Just to turn your brain off, as they
Yeah,
say.
I mean, it's an escape. Just like during the war, people went to the movies because it was an escape. It's kind of
Which
what we do
one?
now.
The
World
second
War II.
World War.
Mm.
Yeah. Have you guys seen Collateral, the one with Tom Cruise and
Jamie Foxx,
Jamie Foxx?
I think I borrowed that movie from you, and that was a neat movie. I wish I could remember more of it.
Neo action, noir action thriller.
hmm
Tom Cruise plays a hitman, and
He's got blonde hair,
basically
doesn't he?
Oh, is he the one who's like he's got bleached? He's like bleached hair.
Yeah, that's
bleached
what.
hair,
Yeah,
yeah.
I
and he's in
have
it.
And
seen that.
He's
the
in it.
Los and Jamie Foxx plays
He's a
a
taxi
cab
driver.
driver,
Yeah.
yeah, in Los Angeles, and he's basically held hostage to a degree by Tom Cruise's character Vincent, who's going on a killing spree and just uses Jamie Foxx as his character for getting around town to complete his kills. But I thought the action in that movie was like somewhat groundedly realistic compared to something more outlandish like Expendables or John Wick or any of the
Hardcore Henry.
yeah, Hardcore Henry. But I don't know if you guys really remember much from that movie, but
Dude,
it was
I
directed by Michael Mann.
I saw it once, and that was because you let me borrow it. I think because you own the movie, right?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, I thought you did, and you let me borrow it, and I
I don't know
watched it. And
why.
I remember
Where,
liking it.
I don't know where I first saw the movie or who recommended it, but someone did. I don't know who did, but it's one of my favorite movies, and it's very calming as well. Sadly, in between the action sequences, but it's not back to back action. There's several rooms. There's a lot of room to breathe for sure.
I
But just
wouldn't mind seeing
great
that movie
dialogue
again. I wonder if it's
on
streaming
any of the
anywhere.
streaming services.
Yeah, Collateral.
But it was nominated for best film editing,
Hmm.
and there's some other uh, accolades, but I don't think what it won exactly. But there were several nominations at least.
I think it's on Pluto TV for free.
Best cinematography by British Academy Film Awards. So, but that's just one of the other more, I guess, not underrated, but maybe one that people haven't really heard of or paid too much attention to because it's not a franchise, and franchises they get more
And it's
attention.
it's an early Jamie Foxx and kind of an early, not really early Tom Cruise movie, but like I would almost say not really obscure, but heading in that direction of obscurity, because like even Jake was like, no, I've never seen it, and then he's like, wait, I have seen this movie,
Yep.
you know, and so it's
Mhm.
like, yeah, it's kind of like I would say underrated is probably a good way to put it. Underrated, kind of not well known, so
It's
that's
like
why
just
I would
it's
kind of like to
smooth.
see it again.
It's like smooth jazz. It's very mellow and it doesn't beg to be sought after. It's there. And
Which is fine with me.
some people could enjoy it and not have to feel the need to brag about it. But it's one of those movies that I've held on to as being like a treat, I guess, from time to time
Mhm.
when it comes to action movies because John Wick is probably my favorite action series at the moment. I think the first one out of the four was the most grounded, and then it got increasingly kind of ridiculous with the
Yeah, but
style of fights and everything. And I'm not dissing it by any
I was gonna
means,
say,
but I think it's a testament to the that style of what I think has been coined gun
gun
fu,
fu, yeah,
and among other styles of combining
shooting and fighting,
shooting with
fighting.
various styles of martial arts, and the fact that this franchise is delving into spin-offs uh, with Donnie Yen's character, for one.
Which is
Uh,
who?
he's John Wick's one of his best friends in John Wick 4. And they have the duel, and he is blind. And he has his daughter, whom he's tasked to engage in this duel, or unless he wants to have his daughter get killed. But that was the premise of Donnie Yen's character.
Well, they also did the one on the guy at the hotel, right? Do you watch that?
I
What's the
haven't
hotel
watched
called?
that. Continental.
The
Oh, the
Continental, yeah.
Continental.
Yeah, yeah.
Are you
Yeah, I
talking
haven't
about the
watched
TV
that.
show?
I
The
haven't watched
TV
it.
show.
I heard it's abysmal. The dude, the guy that's trying to play the
Winston.
Winston, he has an American accent for some reason that turned me off immediately.
Yeah, that's
Not even
weird.
bothering. I'm not bothering.
That's so weird. Like, why would he had a thick English accent? Well,
Yeah,
like a pretty, I mean, it was very noticeable. It was very there. Like, why would you replace it with someone who's American? Like, I could get like if your accent changes after being somewhere for so long,
maybe they explained that in the series. I haven't watched it though.
I guess, or maybe his English accent is a fake accent. Who knows?
Could be. It
Anyway,
could be.
so cool. I guess Jake. I guess if you want to talk, you should talk because
I'm just enjoying listening. But
okay.
going into like John Wick's and stuff, what I like is this wake of stunt directors
Hmm.
becoming film directors
Directing,
that have
yeah.
really enabled us to have these action-packed movies where the film or the movie camera doesn't distract or detract from the fight. So like a lot of times what we're talking about with John Wick is there's a bunch of crazy scenes, but they don't do a bunch of excessive shaky cam. They don't do a bunch of fast cuts or anything. They a lot of times like let the scene, this is a weird way to say it, like breathe in a sense, but the camera is still in there. The camera becomes almost a third person in this choreographed fight. And a lot of that has to do with these directors, such as like David Leitch, who directed John Wick. Um, and like oh, I'm trying to think of another one. Um, Chad
Chad
Stileski. I
Chad.
Oh,
ruined I ruined his name. Um, but these directors who their background is in stunt choreography,
Hmm.
who have moved into that directing field, and so they know how to tell the drama or use action and stunts to further the story instead of just being eye candy for the viewers. And so we've kind of had this evolution in these fight scenes where instead of just doing quick over the shoulders and like, you can always tell when like a stand-in is used for an actor. They're fighting and all of a sudden it's the back of someone's head and they get punched and then it cuts away. Like there's this evolution where they don't do that anymore. They get the actors in there and they get some, I'm gonna say uh like generically like generic characters in there who are like you've never seen them play any other characters in the movies, but like they do a good job
They're like
and
NPCs.
they play a convincing villain, and so they don't have to cut away from that person because that person playing it is an actual stunt actor for the whole movie, and they can do their own stunts.
I'm gonna need a gun.
yeah. Keanu Reeves, he in interviews, he makes
His
it known that
name's
he does his own stunts.
yeah. His
That's
name's
him.
Chad Stahelski.
Stelsky, yeah.
Stahelski. Yeah, something like that.
Uh,
That's what it. Well, Willem Dafoe. apparently, according to reports, said that he would come back to do Green Goblin if he could do his own stunts, which I thought was pretty cool because Willem Dafoe's got to be 60 years old.
That would be so cool.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
is.
well, Tom Holland already defeated him, so it'd be weird to somehow emerge into his world again. Because it was noted in an article recently that Tom Holland's Spider-Man in this new trilogy is going to be indeed fighting his own version of Goblin.
Yeah,
But
Hobgoblin.
it's probably gonna be Ned, most
It's gonna be
likely.
Ned.
No, I literally just,
It's gonna be Ned.
dude, I just saw something about it. Hang on. I just scrolled through and hang on. It says Jacob Batalon will reportedly return to the MC. Oh, that is Ned.
Yeah, it is Ned, yeah.
Yeah, into the new Spider-Man trilogy as Hobgoblin.
Of course he
It's said
will.
to have connections to the multiverse.
Uh,
Oh, I'm not
I hope it's
excited
not.
now.
I hope it's not like the original
Teenage
Ned.
angst.
Let
Of
it be a
course,
multiverse
multiverse
Ned.
said,
Don't ruin
yeah.
Spider-Man's buddy.
Well, I mean, it's not his buddy now. He doesn't know who he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But he even said, "I will not become an evil villain and try to and kill you," because he
Yeah,
says that.
well, unlike Tom Holland, this guy can probably keep a secret. Oh, you're referring to in the movies. I was referring to like
Yes.
you gave interviews.
Oh no. In the movies, he says like, "says I
I
promise I
do
won't
remember
become an
that.
evil villain or evil something and kill you or
Foreshadowing.
yeah, exactly." Because Tobey Maguire talks about James Franco's character, and he's like, "Yeah, I had a best friend. He tried to kill me." That was funny. So when we went to see Far From Home in theaters again, it was the extended version that they re-released the first time. You remember when they re-released it, like right
I
after
heard
it
that
came
they
out,
did.
and then
I didn't see it.
they just added some
they
footage to it.
they fixed some CGI as well.
Well, they added some stuff, and they're like the small conversation. I know this is off topic, but the small conversations, like with the three Spider-Man together on the Statue of Liberty and stuff, are a lot longer. It's really funny to watch.
Hmm.
And me and my friend who had seen the movie, every time we'd see something new, be like, I don't remember this in the movie, so it was cool to see that extra footage. So I do want to talk about one person who's known for his action and fighting. Do you guys want to take a stab at who I'm going to mention?
No.
Jackie Chan.
Jackie Chan. And like,
How about
because
Bruce Lee?
well, Bruce Lee too. I vaguely remember watching some Bruce Lee movies
OG.
when I was a kid because my mom liked Bruce Lee. But Jackie Chan's kind of who I grew up on just because of like Rush Hour, mainly
That's
because of
true.
Rush Hour.
Yep. Those are good movies.
Yeah, mainly because of Rush Hour, and it's kind of fun watching the behind the scenes with Jackie Chan and how he choreographs his fights because like what happens is like some of the people around him will make specific noises, kind of like fighting noises, but they're real
Yep.
specific, so that he knows like I guess where they're at and what he's supposed to do and all that stuff. And so thought that was pretty neat. Like and I think that goes across his like movie fighting whenever he does all this fighting. But then there's this movie. I don't know if you guys have seen The Foreigner with Jackie Chan. It's like
Yes.
it's a few
I've seen that
years
one.
old,
Yeah.
but with Pierce Brosnan and Jackie
Mhm.
Chan, and I thought that was probably one of the better Jackie Chan movies I had seen because in this movie he's older, right? But he's fighting, but it's not his over the top crazy fighting like he's known for. It's just like regular fighting because he's like a regular dude. Like they don't know him. Like in Rush Hour, he's a policeman, right? He's a detective. But in this, he's just a dad. Dad has lost his daughter, and he wants to figure out what happened.
It's the
Um,
Irish.
yeah, and they call him the Chinaman.
Oh,
Yeah,
derogatory.
yeah, no, but I was like, dang, because this movie came out. I don't know when it came out. It was only a few years old, I
I
think.
wonder why I watched it. Maybe you told me about it, perhaps, but
I went to
Looked
the
like it came out
theaters.
in 2017.
Yeah, so it's not super old, but I mean, it's almost what 7 years old. So
I haven't seen many Jackie Chan movies, but maybe Maybe you'd agree that it's one of the more grounded Jackie
Yeah,
Chan
that's what
movies,
I'm
and
saying.
it's a dramatic. It's really a drama. It's a dramatic role for
And
him.
and like for him, it gets to show up. Like he's funny, don't get me wrong, and he's not he's a good actor in his other movies because he was also in like Shanghai Noon and Shanghai Nights. He's
Love
been in
those.
a few movies, but Rush Hour is kind of the main three that I remember him from.
I like Drunken Master too from 2000. That's a good one.
I was a fan of Around the World in 8 Days.
Wow.
Ooh, that was a good one too. I remember seeing that in theaters. It's a little one.
But yeah, I remember seeing this and thinking this is like a nice dramatic role for him. He kind of shows his acting chops as a dramatic actor because I don't think I had seen him in anything dramatic. Um,
Hmm.
so it was a pretty cool movie. Pretty cool movie.
You wanted to talk about No Hard Feelings and the
Mm,
scene where Jennifer Lawrence is
naked
naked
fighting.
in the dark on the beach.
Yeah, that was hilarious. That's all
Well,
I really got to say about it. No, it's not. I'm just kidding. But
the way that it was shot to conceal things, or what?
yeah, like when she's walking up, like you see her boobs, right? But you don't see
You
anything
see
below that because it's like
dark
shadows. Yeah.
shadows. Yeah, you have the raccoon eyes going on.
Yeah, and it was funny to watch her like walk up to them, like you can see them kind of making fun of her, and she's just like, "I'm screw this, I'll get out naked." And it's funny because she does one of those, oh, what is it called, like a where she like picks him up and arches her backwards and kind of slams them
Pile
backwards.
driver?
No, not a pile driver, because that's where you like pick them up, turn them upside down, and slam them into the ground, right? This is
Oh
like
yeah.
when you arch your back backwards and you slam them backwards. I don't know what that's called. Um, but anyway, she does that and like she
Hmm.
just kind of beats them all up, but she's naked. And I think what the reason I like it is just because it's kind of, I mean, raw as raw can be, right? Because she's naked, and it's just kind of raw fighting. She's not a fighter, but she is like very she's kind of crazy, the character, right? But so I thought that was, I don't know, it's just an interesting scene to see. And like I remember watching an interview with her and they were talking about it, and she's like, "Yeah, I read it and I thought it was hilarious and I wanted to do it." And I was like, that's awesome. Like I mean, yeah, Jennifer Lawrence naked would be, but it's like, no, I like the idea that
Sorry.
she did it, instead of like, I don't know, somehow them cutting everything out. You actually get to almost see everything, and she's completely naked and she's fighting guys, and it's just hilarious. And I think there was
You
a
get to see
girl
the
in.
jiggle. You get to see the jiggle physics.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, seriously, like, and like there, I think there was a girl in there too, and she just kind of goes after him, and it's just funny to watch. And it was just kind of one of my favorite. I think that movie came out last year,
Yeah.
and it's kind of one of my favorite scenes of the year.
It was a surprising scene for many, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah. And I remember my my brother and his wife were like, "We're gonna go see No Hard Feelings." I'm like, "Oh, good luck with that." And I'm sure that they thought it was funny, but
I,
I'm sure it also caught them off guard.
I don't remember if that scene was in any way shown snippets and trailers. I don't know if it
Mm-mm.
was.
I don't remember it being shown
See,
at all.
I'm tired of movie trailers these days showing bits. Like I'm tired of all the X-Men, Wolverine, X-Men, or the Wolverine Deadpool trailers and cameo after cameo. It's like, what are we going to be able to see that's not unveiled?
Yeah, no. Well, we've talked about this before, where it seems like when they show something huge in a trailer, it's because they got something else they want to show. And that's the hope for like whenever I see like and the example I always bring up is when Civil War came out and they showed
They put the
Spider-Man.
whole
Well, they showed Spider-Man and I'm like, what the hell? But then, when the movie comes out, it's you get to see Giant Man, which I thought was awesome. But then they did, somebody said the Hulk, where like they put the Hulk in the
in the
trailer.
in
And I
game
think or no, it was Infinity War, wasn't it?
Infinity Game,
Yeah.
Infinity War.
And even in the trailer, and I think in the posters, Hulk was in there, and then in the movie, and I didn't even think about that when the movie came out. I totally, it just didn't occur to me that Hulk was in the trailer and he wasn't in the movie.
Hmm.
That was a pretty good. I thought that was pretty funny
Do you
actually
think?
when I realized it.
Do you think not showing Spider-Man and having him revealed in the movie would have been even more of a shock to audience members.
I think I
It's like,
think
what
that
the
yeah, I
teenage
think it would have been
boy?
kind of like with revealing the Spider-Man from, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, where we kind of knew, right? But we didn't know for sure. And when we did see it, we freaked out. I mean, even when like I had no idea, and I don't remember what if they showed anything crazy for Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness in the trailer. I don't really remember, but I remember in the movie when John Krasinski showed up as Mr. Fantastic, I about jizzed my pants.
And then he gets what
And then
turn
Patrick
into
Stewart
spaghetti.
shows up. Oh yeah, yeah, he gets like shredded. But and then Patrick Stewart shows up too, and I'm like, holy crap! And the best part was when they played the X-Men theme song when he showed up.
Oh,
Anyway,
nice little nod.
yeah, exactly.
When it
Because
comes
he
to
was in his
action, sorry, go
oh
ahead.
I was just saying he's in his little yellow wheelchair thing like he is in the show.
Yeah, X-Men '97. I've watched one episode. It's pretty good.
I have a friend who he watched the original and then watched X-Men 97 because X-Men 97 is supposed to be a continuation.
Mm.
And he said he's like, I liked the original X-Men. He's like, but X-Men 97 was really good. And I was like, all right, man, maybe I need to watch it.
Because it's for kids, but also for grown-ups.
Hmm.
So, but when it comes to action in film, what do you think could be improved on to make it more appealing? How can we innovate for the future? What can make it stand out? Maybe more first person
Uh,
sequences or
not necessarily. I'm okay without first person stuff. I mean, it's small doses, right? Like even in
John
Doom,
Wick first person. Imagine
yeah.
that.
I mean, I would be okay with it,
And
but not for the
doses.
whole. Yeah, not
Yeah.
for the whole movie. It's like on Doom. If you've seen Doom with The Rock, there's a sequence where you could see through his little visor, and it's all first person, and it's supposed to be like the game, which was a cool sequence, right? But I don't know if I could have handled that. Harker Henry was cool, right? But like I said, it could result in some motion sickness, and I
Yeah.
think that would happen.
I'm just surprised. Why haven't we seen more first person blockbusters like World War II,
Would you
first
watch that?
person? I
It's
would.
really hard for one thing. If
Yeah,
you're gonna shoot a first person film, you have to make a customized rig that sits on the
a
cameraman
head or a
slash
shoulder.
actor's face. And it's really restrictive and it's really tough to work with. Like you're essentially like an average cinema tripod is usually weighted anywhere between 30 and 50 pounds. Like that's the amount of weight that you generally put on a tripod once everything's all set together and connected. They basically have to make a helmet and wear that. So if you're shooting 12-hour days, which is on average like what they're shooting for a Hollywood film, you're shooting 12-hour days, wearing 30 to 50 pounds, being supported solely by your neck, maybe your shoulders, or your back if they give you an additional kit to it, like that's tough.
I would think that eventually they could figure out a way to do it a little more economically as well as just easier. You're talking about like rigs and stuff, which when I think a helmet, I think of I don't know if you guys have seen Honey I Shrunk the Kids, but they have like this helmet that is the phone and it's like huge, and that's what I think of. Anyway,
I laugh because that was like my favorite movie from like
I
8 to 11.
dude,
I love that movie, dude.
a couple years ago I rewatched that movie on VHS. And I remember getting kind of emotional whenever they were able to regrow the kids back. And I was like, oh my God. And I don't know why, but I was like, that was a good movie. I hadn't watched the other two because there's two sequels yet. I mean, I've seen them before, but it's been a long time. But I rewatched it on VHS and I was like, man, that was actually a really good movie.
I need to watch
Um,
those movies. They're always on the, I think, commercials for the Batman Forever VHS. But I've never seen the actual movie. Same
well,
with Free Willy.
Free Willy was like the preview on the VHS tapes. So anyway, um, yeah, I think it'd be cool if I mean, if they could do something first person like, but make it easier to shoot. I don't want to replace any actors or anything or any camera people, but or just do it all CGI.
Those experimental films, as far as like the one take, where obviously there are cuts throughout. But Birdman and was it one
God,
of
I love
the
that movie. That movie is so freaking good.
1917?
I couldn't finish it. I got about halfway through.
Which one?
Birdman?
Birdman?
Yeah,
Oh my God, I love that movie.
I
Good
couldn't do it.
soundtrack too. It's like very chaotic and had some
Why couldn't you
jazz
finish
bits
it?
to it.
I don't know. It was just
Oh,
it
so
was
good.
it was real slow.
Well, yeah, because
Slow
it's
and
all one
weird.
takes. Yeah, I get
Well,
that.
no, but that's not the case because like I love
The
1917.
story was maybe
It
not
is
intriguing.
fantastic. Hardcore Henry is fantastic. I'm even great like even movies like Gravity, who like that's not one take, but the takes are super long.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I would consider that it feels like a one take. Like I love that. It just I don't know. I just couldn't get it.
Oh,
I just couldn't get behind it.
okay, that's fair. Oh man, I watched it and I freaking loved it.
Gravity.
No, Birdman. Gravity was
Birdman.
okay. Honestly, Gravity was okay. Like I
See,
saw
I
that in
freaking
theaters.
love Gravity.
Your wife's
You think
here. My wife. Can she hear me?
She was rubbing on my nipples.
Yeah, can she hear me?
Yeah,
Okay.
she can hear you.
I just imitated Borat for her. That's all I wanted to do.
For our listeners, my wife just came in and groped me for like two
For
seconds.
wait, get it right.
That's for later.
Get it right for our listener.
Isn't there a Borat sequel in
Yeah.
the works?
There
No,
is.
it's not in the works. It's out. It's been
It's
out for a
out?
couple years. Yeah,
Subsequent movie
Dang.
film.
yeah. It's been out for a couple years.
That wasn't that
Borat
And it
subsequent
was
movie film.
that's experimental too, right?
it
It was
was
like basically shot
There's that, and then they have a
candidly.
third, and then they have like a third offshoot movie, which was Borat's time with like these hillbillies under COVID because COVID happened
oh,
while they were filming
Ooh.
the subsequent movie film,
I do think
and
I
he got
remember.
put in isolation with like four rednecks that he was doing a bit with. And so he ended up spending like months with these four guys completely in character the entire time. And that's a third movie, which I haven't even seen.
I don't even know. I mean, I think I've heard of
So
that,
there's
but yeah.
three?
Yeah, there's three.
Wow.
Let's see.
And the guy's actually like British, isn't he?
It's Sacha Baron Cohen. Yeah.
Yeah.
You ever see Talladega Nights or
Yes. I've seen
yeah,
that one.
or he also was Ali G. He plays a French dude on Talladega Nights.
Hmm.
He's like, I'm gonna get you, Ricky Bobby.
He was also the lead character of Bruno,
Yeah,
which
Bruno.
was about, like
Oh,
that gay icon, and they filmed in Arkansas.
the Bruno was. I did not care for Bruno the first time I watched it, and I saw it in theaters. And,
Bruno.
yeah, and
Hmm.
it's about this. He's an Austrian, a gay Austrian model. Is he a model, Jake? I don't
Yeah, he's a
remember.
model.
Yeah, but he's got a dead boyfriend, and it's so funny because he has a sex scene with his dead boyfriend, but you can't see it. He's just miming like giving his dead boyfriend a blowjob and all this
What
stuff.
the?
It was very stupid at the time. I think now if I tried to watch it, I'd probably think it was funny. But when I watched it the first time, I was like, that was horrible.
I
But I
haven't watched it. I just know about it because they filmed the climax in Fort Smith, Arkansas, where I grew up. So I'm aware of like what happened. There's a scene where he's like in a fighting ring, which speaking of action scenes, and we talk that's a nice tie-in.
Mhm.
But he goes into a boxing ring with his former lover. He like broke up and is like he's like trying to become this super closeted macho guy. And then he's in this ring, and then his former lover, comes into the ring, and as they fight, they start making out instead. So they start having sex in the middle of the ring.
Wow. That's
And the
like a
way that
nice little
and the
evolution.
way that Sashin films all of his movies is completely guerrilla, and like the audience that are in the seats are real people. They are real people that they hoodwinked from like Fort Smith and Oklahoma and around the state into coming to the show by like offering it was like $5 tickets and unlimited free beer. And so you have all these drunk, angry rednecks in the middle of the Bible Belt watching Sasha and Baron Cohen make love to,
Oh yeah,
to this.
he was in Hugo. He was
Anyway, that's all. That's the only reason I know about it. But there is a fight scene in there.
yeah.
There we go.
So anyway,
Eloquently shot.
yeah.
Didn't Barry, what's his name? Kewen? That's how you pronounce it.
Mhm.
When he had sex with, he was naked and he was having sex with someone that he had killed.
Oh, you're talking about Barry, what's his face, dude from Saltburn?
Saltburn, yeah. Remember that scene?
Oh
You're
yeah,
talking about
in
when
the
he's having
movie.
sex with the grave?
In
Yeah.
Saltburn.
Yeah, he was having sex with a grave.
Yeah, remember
And
that?
he totally yeah, I remember that. He totally improvised that.
What? Oh, did he?
Yeah, it
That
was an
disturbs
improvised
me.
thing. Yeah. Like, could you imagine being like, "Hey, I'm gonna have sex with this grave. All right, go for it."
He was
You
in the
know, and
mood, I guess.
it's all one take, right? It doesn't
It was
really
a long
move.
shot too.
Yeah, and like I love that movie. That's a movie we need to talk about on the show. Is I
Wait,
freaking love that
did you
movie.
see that
I don't
one?
like that.
Jake,
You didn't see that one?
yeah, Jake
No, and I'm
watched.
not,
Oh,
and I'm
okay.
not. No, I haven't, and I'm not going to. It's
All right, so it sounds
disgusting.
like if we
You
did
read the
ever do,
synopsis, I
That'll be a
guess.
duo episode. Y'all have that.
I was gonna say,
I
I
don't
was
want to
just
go
gonna say that
anywhere near that.
if we ever do that episode, it'll be just me and
Is it
Zach.
because of the vampire scene?
What's
Sucking of the
The
blood?
vampire scene, I think it's the fact that he like licks cum off a bathtub. He
okay? He
fucks a
just
grave. He
he.
dances around for 5 minutes with his willy hanging out. Like I don't want to see the movie. It
Uh,
sounds disturbing. I don't want it.
I'm gonna make you
He-
watch it.
He's a
no,
very manipulative guy,
I'm
though.
gonna.
It's
Here's what
crazy.
I'm gonna do, Jake. Is I'm gonna figure out a movie that you really want me to see,
I'm not gonna do it.
and then I'm gonna say,
I'm
all right, I'll
not
watch
doing
it.
it.
I'll watch it if you watch Saltburn.
Maybe
Nope.
it's got to be on the level of, I guess, opposition. For it's like, but you're open to a lot of movies,
It's
Justin, aren't you?
yeah, I really am, and like like I do think
You'll
like
see anything
I will.
once.
Every movie is worth watching once. And
No,
so, yeah. And
I disagree
so,
with
like,
that.
I think Saltburn is just one of those movies where you like it or you don't like it. There's no in between. And so, like, I saw it and, like, I've talked about it before. Like, I was like, I don't know what I want to see. I was
But
like,
is there a fight scene?
all right, there's not. Well, no, I don't think there is. It's really not much action in the movie.
We don't even see the person he has the affection for get killed. He gets killed off screen, I believe, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Shot or stabbed, one of the two.
No,
How would that movie, if
he
there
gets
was a fight
poisoned.
scene,
Poisoned.
if
Okay.
there was a fight scene in the movie, how would they film it?
I think it would be very real, where it's like,
Raw.
yeah, very raw. Like maybe not many punches, maybe more like scuffling type fighting, with maybe one or two punches. You know, like I see like um, the main character, the dude that I forget his name now, um, that he goes whose house it is, Saltburn, Jacob Elordi,
Oh
and
yeah, he
Barry,
played Elvis in
yeah,
Priscilla.
and his name's Felix. I see him and Oliver fighting like kind of like scuffling, kind of like pushing each other and stuff like that. Nothing very like like nothing choreographed, I guess is what I'm saying.
Because they were both like very prissy type, like stuck up type people. I felt like in a way, like
well,
they want to have much experience fighting. So
exactly, yeah. I don't think so because they both went to what was it? That big school in London,
school that cost a lot. University of Oxford.
Oxford. They
Yeah.
went to Oxford, yes. So it's like, yeah, totally. There's no way that they know how to fight.
Upper class manners.
You don't think they take wrestling? They
What?
probably got some fancy
Maybe
wrestling.
Jacob Lordy's character, but not Barry's.
Yeah, I don't think Barry's character would know how to fight for sure.
But he was very manipulative.
Well, yeah,
we should have
that's
a
the
duo.
whole movie.
But I didn't really realize it until the very end. But we should save that for a Justin Zach episode.
Yeah.
Saltburn.
We should, because I could talk about that movie. We could probably find somebody else to talk about that movie with us too.
You know what interests me about getting back to fight scenes are movies like DC, Zack Snyder's Batman and the Justice League quadrilogy. I really liked the action scenes in that movie. Felt almost like video games, like video game fightings. Like there was I distinctly remember kind of being a segment around time where like Injustice was out and like these superhero video games were really popular. And I was thinking like, man, why don't they make movie characters? Like, why don't they make movie superheroes fight like they do in video games? And then Zack Snyder's
Yeah,
stuff came out, and I was like, oh, he's doing it like the video games do.
Yeah.
Like it looks impactful.
well,
How do you guys-
that's kind of how I felt with like Man of Steel, and we've talked
Yeah.
about this. It's like the ending scene with him and Zod, and they're throwing each other through buildings and stuff. It's like it's realistic in the sense that this is how Superman and Zod would fight on Earth, right? Because of the yellow sun. So their strength is like magnified. So this is how they would fight. And it just looked cool. And even the fight with Batman and Superman was really cool. And it's just like Batman. I don't know if you guys have seen The Dark Knight Returns, part two, but that's kind of what that fight scene is based off of. Um, so yeah, it was cool. He does have cool fights, and he makes them look realistic in that world, I guess
Mhm.
is
Yeah.
what I'm trying to say.
I think for me it was like Zack Snyder's DC and surprisingly Marvel's Eternals. Have you guys seen Marvel's Eternals?
I
Yeah, I saw
haven't.
it in theaters.
Like I actually I wouldn't say it's the best Marvel movie, but I think it was significantly better than it was given credit for. And
Yeah.
a lot of that has to do with the fight scenes that were in it. Like they made, so
Barry
for one
Kagan is
thing,
in that one too.
the speedster, I don't remember their
That's
names.
well, it was Barry Kuwait, whatever his
Yeah,
name,
yeah.
but he's the speed.
Barry
No, it's the
K.
girl. It's the
It's the
girl that's the
girl. It's the girl
speedster.
that's the
Yeah.
speedster. So like
Yeah.
she's like the best representation of a speedster on film. Like
I would agree. I
the
think the
like
CGI in that film was awesome.
the CGI was
Eternals.
Yeah.
fantastic in the
Yeah, I
Eternals.
do. I do. I think it's a beautiful movie. Like it looks great.
Uh-huh. And it doesn't feel, and I think one of the reasons that it's not as popular as it was, and also one of the reasons why I think it was good, is it's one of the
No
latest
jokes.
Marvel movies that came out, but it did not feel like a Marvel movie. It was only a Marvel movie in name that it
Yeah.
was because it was made by like Marvel and their comic book characters. But it didn't play like a Marvel movie. It didn't feel like a Marvel movie. It wasn't shot like a Marvel movie. It was felt almost like a drama with
Superheroes.
superheroes,
Yeah, I would agree
which
with
was
that.
great.
It's not the same old formula.
Yeah. Which unfortunately I think was why it didn't do as well as it should have because
Yeah,
people
because
were
people
stuck
kind
on
of
it. But
yeah.
but anyway, getting back to the fighting aspect of it,
Mhm.
they actually made them fight like they were superheroes and they fought, but if they all had impact, like the later Iron Man movies and like Infinity War and Endgame, they're all souped up and they all hit each other and stuff, and you can tell there's power behind it, but they don't actually seem to hurt each other. Does that make sense? Like they take the punches and then they come off of it. Whereas in the Eternals, like it felt like they were actually hurting each other with their blows.
Mhm. I guess I should
I,
watch it again. The Eternals.
So, what do you guys hope for when it comes to the James Gunn DC
ooh,
universe? And he has his own style from past projects, from Guardians of the Galaxy, among others. But what do you hope the new DC universe captures in terms of style? Because Zack Snyder certainly had his distinguished style with slow mo and chaos and destruction constantly. But what do you hope comes out of like a Superman or Batman or and the other heroes that we'll be seeing and starting in 2025?
I would hope for some
A unique style.
I don't even need a unique style. I want something. I like Zack Snyder, right? And I love his DC, and I loved it because it contrasted so hard against the MCU, right? But now you got James Gunn coming from the MCU, and I'm afraid it's just going to be more of that. And like I guess yeah, I guess uniqueness, right? Like I don't really, I don't know. I just don't really want the MCU in DC. But unfortunately, I think that's just how it's going to be. So yeah, I think I would want something kind of unique and different, and hopefully, James Gunn will have a different mindset going into DC versus what he did with the MCU.
Because he was known for Guardians of the Galaxy, right? Mainly.
Yeah, well, yeah, yeah, and the Suicide Squad, he did that too, but that was
I,
DC.
Yeah. It seems
I
like both of those have the similar tones and tastes with like
Exactly.
this, I don't know, whipper band of hooligans coming together and humor and some brutal violence. I don't know what he'll do with
Band of
Superman.
hooligans. Yeah.
what I feel like is going to happen, and this is complete conjecture, what I feel like is going to happen is he might take the route, especially because he's mentioned that this is going to be a more hopeful Superman. I don't think he's going to take the route of Guardians. Eventually, maybe, I think it might go into the more goofy stuff. But initially, to start with, I don't think he's going to try to copy what he's done in Marvel
Good.
for the exact same reasons that you mentioned, Justin.
Hmm.
If he just does what Marvel's doing, one, he's going to alienate the fans of DC, and he knows that. And two, he's not going to attract the Marvel fans because the Marvel fans already love Marvel, and they're just going to see DC copying it again. So I don't think he's going to do that. I think he is going to kind of go more the route of if you've seen clips of like was it like My Day with Superman or like my friend Superman,
My adventures with
My
Superman.
Adventures with Superman. That's it.
The
Where
anime looking
it's
thing.
yeah, it's kind of an anime looking thing, but it's
Yeah.
kind of like a more almost slice of life
Yeah.
anime where it's
Hmm.
like Super Clark Kent's really naive and like
Yeah,
Lois
he's
Lane's
young in this one.
yeah, he's like younger and hopeful
I
and
watched the
like
first like half of the first
Saving
episode
cats.
in that show, and I just did couldn't get into it.
I
The
feel
stock
like
art style for me.
if I had to guess, I feel like we're gonna get a more humanistic, realistic version of that, where it's a younger Superman. He's a lot more hopeful, a lot more naive, and he's gonna have to kind of depend on like Lois Lane to kind of like teach him how to survive in the big city. Almost like a more wholesome. I'm not gonna say wholesome because he's superheroes and fights happen, but in terms of character, I feel like it's gonna be a more wholesome, hopeful take
Yeah.
on that character, which, and then at some point he's gonna have like a hard lesson and things will ramp up from there. But that's what I think. I don't think he's gonna go Guardians of the Galaxy. He's not gonna go like Peacemaker or like
Oh yeah, I forgot he did
hardcore,
Peacemaker.
funny, raunchy stuff. I think he's kind of gonna go for like
Well,
a more wholesome, like a modern, wholesome dynamic.
here's hoping,
I mean,
man.
yeah, the new set photo shows him looking up at a tree with his hands on his hips, so he's probably going to save a cat. So there we
Yeah,
go.
here's hoping. I don't want him. I mean, it's James Gunn. I don't want him to be just like Zack Snyder, but I just don't want DC to be. And like even what we're talking about fight scenes, like I just don't want him to be like Marvel. Like if I wanted Marvel, I'd go watch Marvel.
Yeah, and we don't want him to be copying Zack Snyder either.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So
I think the general expectation that he's either going to continue his Marvel run or he's going to go the like
Complete opposite route.
or the like the Peacemaker, um, what is it, Suicide Squad, like
Mhm.
super raunchy route, and I don't think he will.
Okay. I will say I like that he brings obscure characters to screen and I get excited sometimes if I know the character like Polka Dot Man. I was like I cannot believe that freaking Polka Dot Man is in this movie. And that was like the reason I wanted to watch Suicide Squad. I didn't care for oh my God, this bug is in my face. Um I'm afraid I'm gonna swallow it. But anyway, yeah, I do like the way he brings obscure characters, you know, to light, if you will. Um
yeah, I mean, he has a lot of obscure characters coming with the new DC
yeah,
slate
exactly.
of film and TV shows. But we've seen James Gunn help with doing dark, serious movies like Brightburn. He was a producer on that.
Yeah, that's true. And I liked that movie.
Yeah, it was a very disturbing movie when I first saw it
Oh
because
man.
I didn't know what to expect other than some kid
Have you
that
seen
was
that, Jake?
evil Superman, basically.
No,
Brightburn.
I don't know what you're talking
Dude,
about.
you should check it out. It's on my Voodoo if you get a chance. It's called Brightburn. It's like what if Superman was
Oh,
evil?
yes, with the kid, he's got like a red cape.
Yeah,
I haven't seen it, but yeah,
it's good. It's pretty good.
it
Dark.
didn't click till you told me the name.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
has a lot of action in it, and it doesn't. It shows the guy in the truck, and it shows his face when the
Yeah.
truck
Yeah.
falls and it's like
And it's like
smashed against the wheel or something. And
yeah, it's like scraped or something pretty bad.
yeah, it doesn't shy away from the violence. So, but I think action in film, I'm still waiting for some innovation. I mean, I'd like to see in the future maybe more doses of first person done properly and maybe bring back some shaky cam. I feel like it's been a while since I've seen movies that have shaky cam action.
We need to do it like the Blair Witch Project. Just kidding. That's like hardcore shaking it.
Or
I would say
handheld action. A movie that's all handheld.
That's
Like
Grit.
from like a witness or something. That'd be cool. Like a superhero movie, but it's all
Well,
from the perspective of some journalist.
have you
What's the one
seen
with those 3 kids?
yeah, have you seen Chronicle?
Yeah.
It's
That was
like
good.
yeah, I that
That
was
took place in Seattle,
yeah,
apparently.
that's like
Supposed to.
one of the, superhero movies that isn't part of a superhero franchise, and it's a pretty cool movie. I need to watch that again too. It's got Dane DeHaan in it, which I don't really care for him, but it's also got Michael B. Jordan.
Oh, great. We should have talked about Power Rangers, the modern one, and the action in that versus the show
Oh
of Power
boy,
Rangers.
I could talk about that. It's okay though. We don't have to. All I have to say about the show is sparks, because anytime they get hit and their spandex, sparks would fly.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't be blood because it's a kid show, right?
Yeah, just sparks.
Well, anything else, guys, you like to talk about when it comes to action or last thoughts?
I do like real quick. I like comedic fight scenes. So like I'm thinking of Happy Gilmore with Bob Barker, the Bob Barker fight scene where he's
Yes.
just kind of like punching him over and over and over. Like I enjoyed those kind of scenes. And then
Anchorman.
talking about with at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that was funny.
The
Um,
Mask.
yeah, well, I was gonna say the mask at the end whenever he's like hitting him and he's like, I'm winning, and then he hits him back and then he pokes him in the eye real hard, which I was like, that's crazy. Like, who does that in a fight? Um, but I was looking at this list and it talks about the 30 best. I'm not gonna go through all 30 of them, but 30 best greatest fight scenes in movies, and some of the
Hmm.
ones that I know of. Oh crap! It crashed on me. Talks about Happy Gilmore. It also brought up episode 1 with the Darth Maul scene after, I think it was after Qui-Gon Jinn got killed,
Mm.
because they continue to fight. And like I was looking at something and it talked about how the fighting in the original Star Wars, like prequel Star Wars, not the original Star Wars, prequel Star Wars, and the sequel series are just so different. Like, because in the sequel series, I guess they're trying to be more realistic, so it's a lot of like this kind of stuff. Whereas in the original, like you have Yoda doing all these different flips, and Jedi are flipping over each other, and all that stuff, where it's a little more fantastical because I mean, they're Jedi. Whereas you
They
got
had a
Finn
Jedi
and
Order.
yeah,
Right.
and you have Finn and Kylo Ren fighting each other, and it's more brawl type fighting than uh that. But anyway, yeah, they there was one I wanted to see. Let's see. They do bring up John Wick. They talk about a fight scene in John Wick.
Which scene? The pencil scene?
No, but the pencil scene was cool.
I like the bird's eye view scene in John Wick 4 where it's all bird's eye view for a few minutes when he's
Yeah,
using the shotgun that
The
has
yeah,
dragon's breath.
dragon's breath.
that was cool. It
It's
made me think of like Grand Theft Auto, the original Grand Theft Auto 1 and 2, where it's overhead and
oh,
you just see them shooting and you see bullets flying. Like that's what that made me think of, instead of
reminded
it
me of like
being
going like a
third person.
Zelda game or something where you keep
Yeah,
going
that too.
from room to room
Well,
and
But the
the
difference is
director noted that he was inspired off of like video games for that shot. Like he
yeah,
wanted a top down.
no, it was cool. It was dope.
the way that
Um,
it went from the ground shots to the top down view, that camera movement reminded me of a video game too.
hmm. It's called the Knife Off in John Wick 3.
Oh, it's in the beginning pretty much when they're like he's in the room and there's a bunch of knives in the
Oh yeah,
cabinets and it's
mhm. Yeah,
like
dude.
one goes between his legs and then he stabs the guy in the eye very slowly. No,
Uh,
that was excellent. Yeah, John Wick 4 just got too repetitive after the fourth or fifth time of being hit by a car. You're like, come on, buddy, you should be down for the
yeah,
count.
dude.
Even with
It,
all that armor and your suit,
oh,
that your suit jacket is supposed to be repellent from bullets.
here's a Legend of Drunken Master. I think. Did you mention that one, Jake?
Jackie Chan?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's one of the fight scenes.
Wait, is it what year does it say the movie's from?
1994.
The Legend of Drunken Master.
Yeah,
I'm
could
the
be a
Legend.
sequel.
Yeah, maybe Drunken Master must be the one I was looking at was from
Could
2000.
be a oh yes in '94.
Maybe it's number two. I have no clue. But
And
Jackie Chan in it.
Bob Barker baiting and Happy Gilmore.
Weird.
So, and then there's also a scene, and this is the one I'll end on is in the show New Girl. There's a really funny scene where the dudes are on a bachelor like a bachelor party outing, and the women are on a bachelorette party outing, and they go to this bar, and they have this fight scene outside of the bar, and it's really cool because it's a huge bar brawl, but it's set to the music of Roar uh, by Katy Perry. And that's like I think that's what makes that fight scene. And I use it for uh, my classes. We talk about counterpoint, which is like what you see on screen versus what you hear don't match, but they go good together. And that's
Yeah.
like one of the things is like there's this huge like brawl fight and stuff, but then you hear, Katy Perry in the background. And that's probably one of my favorite fight scenes that I've seen.
Aren't you're not a big fan of Katy Perry, or is that someone else?
I mean, I don't care for Katy Perry. She was in How I
I
Met
think
Your
it
Mother.
depends on whether she starts acting in movies.
She did act. She did act in one episode of How I Met Your Mother, and she was playing like this real naive, dumb girl. She did that pretty well. So I don't know if that says something about her acting, but
I'd like to see her and Orlando Bloom together since they're
she has some big
together.
old boobies. So sorry, she does though.
Anyways,
All right.
any last thoughts, Jake, on action?
I had some, but it just wiped them from my mind.
Sorry, bro.
Boobies. It's got big old boobies.
Hmm.
I think we need to return, just in general, not just in action or fighting films, but we need uh, to return in general to a messiness, to a grittiness of films. Movies today are far too far overproduced, whereas like you've got perfect cameras, and then they apply if there's any shakiness or anything gritty. Supposedly they add it in post. Like they've got cameras locked down, they've got cameras in on stabilizers, they've got cameras on dollies. Whereas if you go back and you watch, you know, 20, 30 years ago, like not that far ago, like if there was an action scene, like the camera operators would be handheld. If they're running someplace, it would be handheld. And it adds a sense of realness and organicness to the scenes. And don't get me wrong, movies today are incredible feats of production skill, like shooting 1917, shooting Bourne, shooting the Guardians of the Galaxy. Like they're all fantastic. They're all well made. But I feel like there needs to be a return to form. There's two things. There needs to be a return to form. And if they can return to form and combine that with the ability of these stunt directors moving over to full directing, if they're able to combine kind of like the original camera style with the tenacity and skill that these stunt directors are putting into it, you could get some really intense, really cool sequences.
When you said return to form, it made me think of Back to Formula. Because from the Spider-Man. Sorry. But I agree. Like, yeah, you can add shaky cam in post, and it's kind of lame, if unless it looks good. But I do like the idea of it being a little more realistic, where cameramen are actually running as opposed to, zooming in and maybe adding something later, or dolly cams even, or
Yeah.
dolly shots, excuse me. Even I don't know. Be kind of I like a little more realism sometimes,
For
depending
like
on the movie.
explosion scenes, is that shakiness added in post, or maybe there's some
I
shakiness naturally,
I
like
would
when
say
to show a building or something
A lot of
shaking?
it's added in
yeah,
post.
I would say
Uh,
probably add it in post, um, just because it's easier that way. Now I will
Just in
say
general.
there are some cool, Christopher Nolan did some cool practical effects, like when he did The Dark Knight and he flipped a diesel over, like that was real effects, and real explosions he did. That's why I like kind of like Christopher Nolan. His stuff is a little more. He tries to stay on the practical side if he can.
Real bomb too, right? And
Wouldn't that be crazy? In
yeah,
Oppenheimer,
Oppenheimer, yeah, wasn't it?
I
Like the
don't.
real that explosion was a real explosion. There was
Was
no
it?
CGI.
I don't know.
There
Yeah,
was
that
no
seems kind
CGI
of.
in that movie, apparently.
Nah, I don't believe that.
Well, I think maybe the explosion part was, but everything else had to be CGI. Like I'm talking about like the mushroom cloud and all that stuff,
Oh,
because you don't get that from a regular explosion.
and the ending scene where you see Earth and the multiple bombs that was from shot from outer space.
From satellites. Okay, I'm good on talking more.
Action. All right,
You
time
want to
to
close it
close
out,
it out.
or you want me to?
You do it because you're the best at it.
All right. Well, that
You
was
know all
our
the social medias.
well, that was our discussion on action and fight scenes in movies. We actually went a little longer than I anticipated, but that's
This
okay.
is the extended version.
Yeah, I don't mind it. So if you liked it, if you didn't like it, if you want to just say hello, if you want to give us ideas for episodes or whatever, hit us up on most social medias, the popular ones for sure. And you can listen to us on pretty much anywhere you get your podcasts, the popular ones for sure. And then you can also check us out on YouTube as well. It's just a
YouTube.
it's just a picture, so it's there for listening. We haven't done video stuff yet, but we might do that when season 4 comes around. So anyway, thanks for listening, and we will uh, see you guys next time.
Goodbye.
Wait, hang on, Jake.
Ooh. Have a fantastic day.
Bye.